Let's talk a little bit about Taproot assets, and to drill it down to like the ultra basics. You're talking about different kinds of assets existing on Bitcoin, and one of them would be a US denominated dollar coin. What is the intro to Taproot assets?
Yeah. So Taproot Assets is a protocol developed by Lightning Labs, who is behind LND, which is the biggest implementation of the Lightning Network. So the Lightning Network, right, layer 2 on Bitcoin, has different implementations. LND is one of them. And this was formerly known as Taro. If anyone listening remembers Taro when it was first announced back in 2022, Lightning Labs at the time had done their Series B, and they were looking to build this protocol that would make Bitcoin, and specifically the Lightning Network, a multi-asset network. And again, that's always going to be a controversial thing in the community. But what's really nice about Taproot Assets is it is an off-chain protocol, meaning that the metadata that sort of describes these different assets, that all sort of resides off-chain. And then what's going on-chain is a very, very efficient, small data footprint. So for those listeners that might be, familiar or at least have heard of things like ordinals and, and runes and things like that, like these are, controversial topics in part because they have a very big on-chain footprint. And so Taproot Assets, I think, is a much, much, much more efficient way of doing that, but it also allows us to get the benefits of the Lightning Network. And so to share a couple kind of real world, use cases for how we're thinking about this. And again, we didn't sort of like wake up one day and say, you know what, like I want assets on Bitcoin. This was very much an evolution based on what we were hearing from the market. There's a business called Kilo Club. This is a fitness center of all things. They're based in Vegas. They're opening new locations as well. And the owner always kind of had this idea of kind of building this sort of member owned, gym. And it's like, and as part of that, he wanted to institute a rewards program. But his concern, going back to that like 10 to 15% or so of his customer base who would be in any way, shape, or form enthusiastic about earning Bitcoin, like that was always his main concern. And so with Taproot Assets, we can create the Kilo token. And guess what? It can actually be a 1 to 1,000 because he's playing on Kilo. But every 1 Kilo token represents 1,000 sats. And so to the end user, and so this is a gym member, they scan this app to get into the fitness club. Every time they do that, they accrue a reward. And to them, it looks and feels like a traditional loyalty point. And furthermore, it's helpful for Kilo Club because it retains their branding. And it's kind of to your point, Scott, it's another way of asking that like control question of, okay, there's control in relation to the value of the points, but there's also control around like the branding of the points, which is also immensely valuable to businesses. So this allows them to preserve and retain that branding aspect while also giving the points real value because they can be converted into Bitcoin. But importantly, you're letting people do that on their own time horizon, right? You're not kind of forcing them to get up to speed on Bitcoin like right here, right now. You got to get up this big kind of learning curve. So they can accrue this thing. They can see what their balance is. They can see it denominated in dollars, as a more kind of digestible version for them. And then they can convert that. And in the future, they can use it for different things. They could vote for new equipment. There might be new ways of earning that. You hit a new PR, like whatever. He wants to kind of play on the proof of work sort of concept, which is kind of cool. So that's like a real use case that I think helps illustrate why this is at least important for us.